Welcome back, everyone. Tonight's story is one you should probably not listen to alone. The narrator's voice trembled just a little, enough to feel real. So before we begin, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. Trust me, you're going to want company for this one. My name is Lily Hart, and until last winter, nothing interesting ever happened in my life. Not in a good way, not in a bad way, just painfully normal. A quiet small-town street in upstate New York, a school with flickering fluorescent lights, a best friend who texted me every 2 minutes, all the usual stuff. The night it started, I had just finished studying for a chemistry test. I was exhausted, fully ready to collapse into bed. My room wasn't anything creepy. Fairy lights around the window, a messy desk, posters peeling at the corners. Definitely not the setting for a horror movie. So when I woke up at around 2:15 a.m., heart pounding for no reason, I wasn't scared at first, just annoyed and thirsty. I sat up, rubbed my eyes, and noticed dust floating in the air, drifting down like something had been disturbed above me. I frowned, leaning back to look up at the ceiling. That's when I saw it, a handprint, not a smudge, not a stain, not shadows. A dusty, perfectly clear handprint on the ceiling, fingers stretched, like someone had pressed their hand flat against it. I blinked hard, rubbed my eyes, looked again. It didn't go away. I laughed nervously, the kind of laugh people use when they know something isn't funny at all. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam made the handprint painfully obvious, white palm, long fingers, no smudge marks like dirt, more like dust had gathered around it instead of on it, like a hand had blocked the dust from settling, like it had been there, recently. I stood on my bed and reached up to touch it. The ceiling was cold, almost damp. My fingers left streaks through the dust, except where the handprint was. That area felt cleaner, like someone had wiped it minutes before. A tiny chill slid down my spine. "Mom?" I whispered, even though my mom was barely 5 feet tall. This handprint was nothing like hers. I tried to sleep after that, but every creak, every shift of the house settling felt like footsteps crawling above me. By morning, the handprint was still there. I showed my mom at breakfast. She laughed, said it was probably from some weird humidity or paint issue. Old house problems, she said. Except our house wasn't old. Built in 2011, no history. No drafty attic above my room. Just insulation. I went to school, told my best friend Mia. She begged for pictures, begged for details, begged to come sleep over and see it for herself. I told her no, not because I was scared, but because I was embarrassed for being scared. I shouldn't have been. That night at 2:12 a.m., I woke up again. Same cold sensation, same drifting dust. I looked up. There were now 3 handprints. The original one, another beside it, another above it, as if whoever or whatever was hanging there was shifting position. I froze. My breathing sounded too loud. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just stared up at the ceiling, waiting to hear something, anything. Silence. But the silence felt full, like someone was holding their breath with me. I didn't sleep until sunrise. The 3rd night, the handprints had multiplied again. 5 now. They looked almost like a trail, like something was climbing from the center of the ceiling toward the corner above my closet. I tried to rationalize it. Dust patterns. Some strange chemical reaction. Temperature differences. My brain fought for any explanation that didn't involve something crawling on my ceiling. But deep down, I already knew. Something was there. That night, I put my phone on video record, propped it on a bookshelf facing upward. My heart raced the whole time, but I needed to know. Needed proof. I fell asleep. At 3:07 a.m., I woke up choking on dust falling on my face. I gasped and shot upright, coughing. My eyes watered as I looked up with the phone flashlight. A new handprint was there. Fresh, crisp, inches closer to the corner. My phone had stopped recording after only 2 minutes. Battery dead, even though it had been at 84%. But the worst part wasn't the dust. It wasn't the silence. It wasn't even the handprints. It was the sound I heard when I sat perfectly still, holding my breath, listening with every cell in my body. A soft, dragging movement, not above the ceiling. On it, something was crawling across the ceiling, slowly, almost deliberately, like it knew I was awake. My voice wouldn't work. My legs wouldn't move. The only thing I could do was watch dust drift down in tiny spirals, and then the dragging stopped. Right above my bed, my mind screamed, "Don't look, don't look." Then I looked, and that was the first night. I saw the shape. I wish I could say my eyes were playing tricks on me. I wish I could blame the shadows or the dust or the flicker of my dying phone. I wish I could say I imagined it, but I didn't, because when I looked up, that shape on my ceiling moved. Not fast, not slow, just wrong. Like a person trying to crawl in a place a person should never be. Its limbs were long, too long, and bent at angles that made my stomach twist. I couldn't see its face, only the outline of its head, pressed almost flat against the plaster like it was listening through the ceiling. Dust sifted around its fingers. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My throat had sealed shut. I just stayed frozen under it, my blankets clutched in my fists so tight my nails dug into my palms. Then the shape shifted. Its arms stretched toward the far corner of my room, the one above my closet, as if it were reaching for something I couldn't see. The movement was slow, deliberate, almost hungry. When the arm pulled back, dust rained down again. The thing began to crawl. The dragging sound was louder now, like dry skin sliding against drywall. I watched it move along the ceiling beam, inching away from the center. Its fingers left faint streaks through the dust, like the handprints from the previous nights. That's when I realized something that made my stomach drop. It wasn't appearing somewhere new every night. It was moving every night, closer. The creature disappeared into the dark corner above my closet. I stared at that corner until sunrise, too afraid to blink, too terrified to sleep. When the morning light finally filled my room, the shape was gone, but the trail of fresh handprints remained, a line of them curving toward the corner. I didn't tell my mom. What would I say? "Hey Mom, something spider walked across my ceiling last night?" No, she'd send me to a therapist. Or worse, not believe me. At school, Mia instantly knew something was wrong. "Lily, you look like a zombie. What happened?" "I didn't sleep," I muttered. She lifted an eyebrow. "Why? Your ghost again?" I wanted to joke back. I really did. But when I didn't answer, her expression changed. "Hey, seriously, are you okay?" I swallowed hard. Do you think something could be inside a house without ever touching the floor?" She stared at me. "What does that mean?" "Something that crawls, not like a person." "Like, stop." She held up a hand. "You're freaking me out." I didn't say more. Couldn't, because even saying it out loud felt like inviting it in. That night, I set up my phone again, this time plugged in. I aimed it at the ceiling. I didn't even try to sleep. I just lay there watching the beam of my nightlight stretch across the room. Around 2:50 a.m., I heard it. That soft, horrible dragging, like skin pulling against plaster. The sound moved from the corner above my closet toward me. My heart pounded so loud it hurt. My hands shook as I pulled the covers to my nose, leaving only my eyes visible. The dragging stopped directly above my bed. Then tapping, light, slow, one tap, another, fingers tapping the ceiling. Right where my face would be if the ceiling wasn't there. The dust drifted down, brushing my cheeks like cold sand. My phone suddenly vibrated, a notification lighting the screen. I grabbed it, desperate for anything, even the distraction. It wasn't a text, it wasn't a call. It wasn't from any app I used. It was a video, a new video file, automatically saved. Timestamp 2:51 a.m. My hands trembled as I opened it. The footage was grainy, shaky. My ceiling filled the screen. For the first 20 seconds, nothing happened. Then its hand appeared. A pale, bony hand, impossibly thin, sliding into frame, fingers stretching like they didn't belong to a human body. The hand pressed flat against the ceiling, the one above my bed. Then another hand. Then the top of its head, pushing through the darkness. The screen glitched, lines running through it. The audio distorted, soft hissing, almost like breathing. Then the creature turned, not its whole body, just its head, twisting at an impossible angle, facing the camera, facing me. Its face was pale, stretched tight like old paper, with black eyes that looked pulled open too wide. Its mouth wasn't shaped right, curved upward in a long, unnatural smile that spread far beyond where lips should end. And then, in the video, it opened its mouth, wide, wider, too wide. A horrible clicking sound filled the audio, like bones snapping inside its jaw. The video cut off. The file ended. I dropped my phone, my breath shaking, every muscle in my body locked. Then, from above my bed, a soft, wet exhale, like something with lungs that hadn't been used in a long, long time was breathing on the plaster. My body went cold. It knew I was awake. It knew I had seen it. And that night, for the first time, it spoke. Don't look away. That voice, I still don't know how to describe it without feeling sick. It didn't sound like a person. It didn't sound like an animal. It sounded like something trying to imitate human speech without understanding how vocal cords worked. A grinding, wet whisper scraping against itself. Don't look away. Every muscle in my body locked. My mind screamed at me to run, to scream, to do anything, but I couldn't move. I felt like my bones had frozen. The ceiling above me creaked. Not like wood settling, like weight shifting. Something was lowering itself. Slowly, I shut my eyes. Not because it told me not to look away, but because if I saw it come down, I knew I'd break. Seconds dragged. The dragging sound stopped. For a moment, there was nothing but silence so thick it rang in my ears. Then I felt it, a cold breeze against my cheek. But my window was closed. I forced one eye open and saw a finger. One long, bony finger hanging down from the ceiling, inches from my face. I gasped and rolled off the bed, hitting the floor so hard my breath punched out of me. My phone skidded across the room. The video still paused on that horrible frozen image of the creature staring into the lens. Above me, the creature reacted. Its fingers retreated with a jerky, unnatural twitch, like a spider pulling into a hole. Then fast, it scrambled across the ceiling toward the corner, the dragging sound now frantic, sharp, nails scratching through the dust. I crawled toward the door, hands shaking so violently I could barely grip the knob. I twisted it open and ran into the hallway, slamming the door behind me. I stood there, chest heaving, listening. For a moment, nothing. Then from inside my room, a thud. Not heavy, not loud, more like something dropping down from the ceiling to the floor. Footsteps followed. Slow, deliberate, barefoot steps crossing the carpet of my room, heading toward the door. I backed away, tears blurring my vision. I pressed my hand against my mouth, trying not to scream. The doorknob rattled. Once, twice, then it turned. But the creature didn't open it. The knob just twisted slowly, like it was testing how far it could turn, how much pressure it needed. I stumbled backward into the living room, breathing fast and shallow. My mom's door was down the hall, closed, the house silent except for the distant hum of the fridge. I should have woken her up. I should have run to her room. But I couldn't risk leading that thing to her. I couldn't risk it leaving my room. Then the doorknob stopped turning. Silence. A long, awful silence. And then a whisper leaked through the bottom of my bedroom door. Not words this time, just breathing. Harsh, wet, uneven. It stayed there at the door for what felt like forever. Breathing, waiting. Finally, after what must have been 15 minutes, the breathing stopped. The doorknob clicked back to its neutral position. The footsteps returned, slow, dragging steps moving back across my room. Then the faint scrape of nails on plaster. It had gone back up, back to the ceiling. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I just sat in the corner of the living room with every light on until sunrise burned into the windows. When my mom walked out and saw me like that, she froze. "Lily, what happened to your face?" I touched my cheek. My fingers came away gray. Dust. Just allergies, I lied. She didn't believe me, but she didn't push. I knew I needed help. I knew I had to show someone. But who would believe a girl saying a creature crawled on her ceiling? Who wouldn't think I was spiraling? At school, I cornered Mia. "We need to talk," I whispered. She pulled me into an empty hallway. "Okay, you're scaring me. What's going on?" I opened my phone, pulled up the video, and handed it to her. "Watch this." The video played. At first, her expression was confused, then horrified, then frozen. When it ended, she lowered the phone with shaking hands. "Lily, what the hell is that?" "I don't know. This isn't fake. I know. Why didn't you tell someone? Call someone?" "Because it's in my house," I said quietly. "And it knows I'm watching it." She swallowed hard. "You can stay at my place tonight?" "No," I whispered. "It'll just follow me." "How do you know?" "Because it talks," I said, voice cracking. "And last night it reached for me." She covered her mouth. "Oh my God." We skipped the rest of the day. We hid in the back of the library and researched anything. Folklore, ceiling crawlers, shadow creatures, demons, cryptids, sleep paralysis monsters. Nothing fit. Nothing matched the way it moved. Nothing matched the way it breathed. Nothing matched the handprints. When I went home that evening, my stomach twisted. I stood in front of my bedroom door for minutes, hand trembling on the knob. Finally, I opened it. The ceiling was covered. Not a few handprints, dozens, all clustered around one spot, directly above my bed, and on my pillow. Dust, in the shape of a hand, not someone hanging on the ceiling. Someone reaching for me, and that night, it didn't wait until 3 a.m. It came early. It wanted me awake. The attic door creaked open as if pushed by a weak, trembling hand. A cold gust rushed down the ladder, followed by a dry, scraping sound like fingernails dragging across old wood. Rachel froze. Every instinct told her to run, scream, hide anything, but she couldn't move. Her feet were glued to the floor, her lungs tight. The dust around her swirled in slow circles, drifting down like ash. A shape emerged at the top of the attic opening. First a hand, thin, gray, elongated fingers. The same hand she'd seen crawling across her ceiling. Then a face leaned down upside down, staring directly at her. Its skin was pale like clay, stretched too thin across sharp bones. Black, glassy eyes reflected her like mirrors. The mouth hung open as if it had never been taught how to close. Rachel let out a strangled breath. The thing smiled. And then it dropped. Its body hit the hallway floor with a disgusting, soft thud. It didn't break any bones. It simply unfolded itself, limbs bending the wrong way, head twisting silently until the face was upright. Rachel stumbled backward. The creature crawled toward her fast, its hands slapping the hardwood floor, leaving long streaks of dust behind. "Mom!" Rachel screamed, her voice cracking. Her mother appeared from the kitchen, terrified. "What's happening?" Rachel didn't have time to answer. The creature was inches away from her feet when her mom grabbed her arm and yanked her into the living room. "Call 911," Rachel shouted. Her mom grabbed her phone, but the screen flickered. The lights flickered. Every bulb in the house buzzed and went dark. They stood in complete blackness. Then thump, thump, thump. The sound of hands slapping the walls, moving fast, circling the room. Rachel clung to her mother, trembling. "Don't move," her mom whispered. But the creature was already in the room with them. A faint glow flickered from the streetlights outside, just enough to see the silhouette crawling across the ceiling again, its limbs bending smoothly, its head rotating 180 degrees as it stared down at them. Rachel swallowed hard. "Mom, it's over us." Her mother squeezed her hand. "Run on 3. The thing's arms and legs stretched across the entire ceiling like a spider. Dust rained down like powder. Its breathing was wet and heavy. 1, her mother whispered. The creature lowered its head until its face hung only inches above Rachel's hair. 2, its hand reached down, long fingers brushing Rachel's shoulder. 3, they ran. The creature screamed, not a human scream, not an animal scream, but something sharp, metallic, like static ripping through the air. It launched off the ceiling, crashing into the wall so hard the drywall cracked. Rachel sprinted to the back door and yanked it open. Her mother shoved her outside. Go to the neighbors," she yelled, but Rachel didn't want to leave her. "Mom, come with me. I'm right behind you, just go." Rachel ran down the porch steps, heart pounding so loudly everything else sounded underwater. She turned back just in time to see her mother being dragged backward into the darkness by something with a dozen gray fingers wrapped around her arms and throat. "Mom, Mom." The door slammed shut. Rachel screamed, pounding her fists on the door, tears streaming down her face. The house fell silent again. Completely silent. She backed away slowly. The night air was freezing. Her breath came out in white puffs. The house windows were pitch black, reflecting nothing. Then the living room light turned on by itself. And there it was. The creature stood at the window, its face pressed against the glass, watching her. Behind it, lifeless on the floor, was her mother. Rachel shook violently, stumbling backward toward the yard. Her mind screamed to run, but her body refused to obey. The creature raised a hand, pressed it to the window, slowly dragged its long fingers down the glass, leaving 4 streaks of dust. Just like on her ceiling, Rachel finally broke. She tore through the yard, across the street, banging on the neighbor's door. They pulled her inside immediately, calling the police, but by the time officers arrived, Rachel's house was empty. Her mother was gone. The attic door was shut, and every wall, every ceiling, every window was covered in dusty handprints. Hundreds of them, as if dozens of those things had been crawling through the house for years, waiting for someone to notice. Rachel never went back. She moved states, changed her number, tried to start over, but some nights when she wakes up too quickly, she feels dust fall onto her face, and she knows it found her again. Because the first handprint always shows up on the ceiling, right above where she sleeps,